Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Holly Pritchard, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Justin McBurney. We warmly welcome the family of the Honourable Dr. Rosemary Crowley, who are in attendance this afternoon. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Flinders Christian Community College, Carrum Downs campus, visiting from Carrum Downs, Victoria. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Students and visitors who are able may now please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant Colin Edmund Alleyne Chalmers. Colin Chalmers was born on the 11th of May 1882 in Hobart, Tasmania. He was one of 6 children born to Edmund Chalmers and his wife Rosalie. He received his education in Hobart and was an active member of the Tasmanian Volunteer Corps in his young adulthood. When First World War broke out in 1914, Colin was working as an accountant. Colin Chalmers enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 23rd of August 1915. He was assigned to the 15th Reinforcements of the 12th Battalion with the rank of private and began training in Australia. He embarked for active service in February 1916, sailing from Melbourne aboard the troop ship Ballarat. When Chalmers arrived in Egypt, he was transferred to the ranks of the newly formed 52nd Battalion and was promoted to Lance Corporal. After a number of weeks, he embarked for the Western Front. From Marseille, the 52nd Battalion was sent northwards to the border of France and Belgium. Chalmers and his comrades spent some weeks alternating between training and rest behind the lines, as well as routine duty in the trenches. In June, Chalmers was seconded to the Australian Army Service Corps until September 1916. On rejoining his unit, Chalmers was promoted to corporal before being selected to undertake officer training at Balliol College in Oxford. At the end of March 1917, Chalmers was commissioned to second lieutenant. He returned to the front in April, joining his unit after their attack at Norray, which resulted in heavy casualties. The 52nd Battalion saw little major action until later that year, when they were moved to the Ypres salient in Belgium. Here, Second Lieutenant Chalmers took part in his first major battle when Allied forces attacked Messines Ridge. The battle began in the early hours of the 7th of June 1917, when 19 mines laid underneath German lines were detonated. The explosion destroyed the enemy's front line, creating hundreds of massive craters and allowing the Allies to advance onto their objectives almost unopposed. Private White, who also fought at Messines, described the attack, writing, "At 10 minutes to 3, we heard, felt and saw one of the largest explosions the world has ever seen. The earth simply rocked like a boat at sea when Messines Hill went up in earth, smoke and flames. Another minute and we were over the top. The heat was terrific and we were following from within 50 yards of our barrage. The heat from the bursting shells was like a furnace. We worked all day strengthening our position, shells screaming, bursting and tearing the earth around us. Despite the overall success of the operation, Allied units suffered nearly 25,000 casualties. Of these, nearly 7,000 were Australian. Among the dead was Second Lieutenant Colin Chalmers. His exact fate remains unknown, but his comrades were able to recover his body from the battlefield for burial. Today, Chalmers lies at Derry House Cemetery No. 2 in Belgium, beneath the words selected by his mother. They read, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of thy God." Second Lieutenant Chalmers was 35 years old. Colin Chalmers' name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Second Lieutenant Colin Edmund Alleyne Chalmers, who gave his life for us, our freedoms, and in hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age will not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff, and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.